Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with episode 1913 of the Cabral Concept. Great to have you here today. Welcome back to the show and glad you could make it. So yesterday we went over a lot of great questions that have come in from the community. There just came in about 5 weeks or so ago. We get new questions every single day that come in to Ask Cabral. Of course, happy to answer those. Just remember, each and every day you can get your questions answered right on over at cabralsupportgroup.com. But if you'd like to wait for me to answer them on the show live, then of course you're welcome to submit them at stephencabral.com/ask Cabral. Just one thing to keep in mind is that your question won't be seen until literally I look at it it's been on average about 6 weeks later. So if it's customer service based, send that email on over to customer service. This is not customer service. And of course, if it's going to your health coach, please send that over to your health coach. All right. So as always, I love being able to see what's going on in our community and what questions are coming about. It allows me to create longer full show podcasts if the question kind of keeps coming up. And of course, they may even lead to health results accelerators, which are about 4.5-hour deep dives into all sorts of health issues in the future. If you want to see the health results accelerators that we currently have, you can head on over to stephencabral.com/accelerators. Some are investment-wise and some are completely free. So you can check those out. Okay, let's get into our first question of the day. Deanna is up first. So let's see what Deanna is saying. This came in on March 23rd. So again, about 5 weeks ago. Hello, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with all of us. I always look forward to your daily podcast. Over the past 6 months, the week prior to my cycle, I get flu-like symptoms. My bones ache and I'm tired all the time. I'll sometimes even run a low-grade fever. I was tested for COVID several times to rule that out. What else could be causing this? My functional medicine doctor has me running the Dutch test and also put me on DIM. I'm just curious to get another viewpoint. Thank you again. All right. So I know a lot of people are using the Dutch test. We don't use it. We don't believe in a urine-only based test. You're going to get, in my opinion, much better results by doing a saliva-based test in terms of hormones, because you want to see what's actually present, usable, not just what was used. It's great. Again, I have no issues with that. And then also, just being put on a single nutritional supplement is never the answer. It's never the answer. And again, I don't know your doctor, so I'm not getting upset at them. But oftentimes, we have a lot of functional medicine doctors that are medical doctors, MDs. And again, they're trying to do great work. They're trying to do more for their patients. However, they don't always have the most holistic viewpoint. You don't give someone DIM to fix an issue. You use DIM, which we use in our estrogen balance product, which is not just DIM, it's DIM and I3C, indole 3-carbinol, but you do that as part of a more holistic program. So the 9 out of 10 women who have your symptoms are going to have what's called estrogen dominance. So that would show up on the lab that we run, which is the stress, mood, and metabolism lab, without a doubt. But you can also want to look at it as how's it tied to thyroid? How's it tied to your vitamin D? How's it tied to your blood sugar? The Dutch test is not going to give you that. Again, nothing against the Dutch test and nothing against the company. Great company. No issues with that at all. But it's a popular lab that really became popular about 5-6 years ago. And people ask me all the time, and I'm just saying, I think there are more comprehensive ways of looking at it. That's all. So again, choose what you want to as a practitioner. I've chosen the lab that best serves my private wellness clients and of course, wellness clients all over the world, because we open source these labs. But a lab itself is also only as good as the practitioner, right? So that's why we have 4,000 integrative health practitioners all over the world. You can find them over at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. You want to look for someone that's level 2 certified. Level 2s are going to be able to share with you, hey, here's how we read this lab. Here's how we begin to make recommendations from a holistic standpoint. So if you weren't given a nutrition plan, if you weren't given not just one supplement, but about 3 or 4 to help with the rebalancing, it's not quite right, because again, what's causing the estrogen dominance? Well, not just a lack of DIM, yes, that's going to help symptomatically, but how do you eventually stop using DIM? Well, you do that by actually looking at what set it off in the first place. And a lot of times that's central nervous system issues, sympathetic nervous system dominance. So what I recommend is again, if your functional medicine doctor is the doctor, then great, continue working with them. If not, you might want to look at a more holistic standpoint. Again, I never say take away from any doctor, but if the doctor's not helping you, they're not helping you, okay? I went through dozens of doctors before I found the right practitioner for me. And I would say you can also just take your own knowledge to the next level. Go to stephencabral.com/accelerators and see if the female hormone rebalancing health results accelerator is for you. All right, hopefully, and that was a bit of a rant. I don't like to get too ranty, but it does happen. And it happens when I feel like there's an injustice being done to someone with their healthcare. And I don't feel that that was the best for you. But again, I might not be getting the full story. But if someone just gives you dim and say, hey, be on your way, here's a product, go on your way. No, that's a silver bullet approach. It never works. All right. So take a deep breath here. All right, I'm settled. Okay, so Kelly's up next. Good day, Dr. Cabral. Hope all is well in your world and sending some sunshine from down under. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. I recently had an IgG food sensitivity come back with grapefruit and lemons and limes and citrus and many others showed up. With regards to whole food electrolytes, lemons and limes and water are out of the equation for now. Would you recommend sparkling mineral water, which tends to make me bloat and burp, as an alternative, or would you recommend something else? Same with the citruside drops during the CBO. Would you leave these out during the protocol, or do the benefits outweigh the sensitivity? Thanks a million for you being you. One of a kind and grateful to have a human like you to inspire us. Thank you, Kelly. It was quite nice of you. Appreciate that. Okay. So certainly it seems like you have a sensitivity to citrus-based fruits. Okay, so we're going to eliminate those for either 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or 6 months, depending on the severity that showed up on the test. And of course, your health coach will walk you through that. So what do we do? You know, you said you recommend, like, should you do sparkling water? Well, sparkling mineral water, you're looking for the potassium, right? So if you add sea salt, you're getting all of the sodium that you need. The sodium chloride can help rebuild stomach acid, can give you some electrolytes there. So technically you're saying like, hey, how can I get my potassium? Well, the truth is this, that if you eat a lot of vegetables, especially a lot of greens, you're getting plenty of potassium. So I wouldn't worry as much right now, although of course lime's really nice to squeeze in your water. But you may just do a little pinch of sea salt for right now with no lime for right now. There is another way to get it, and that's, of course, using trace mineral drops. And so you can use mineral drops that have sodium, potassium. You can also just use the alkalizing vitamin C. So if you're using alkalizing vitamin C, you're getting all those electrolytes too. So I would be careful using a sparkling mineral water unless it's a more natural version, and I don't have my bottle. It's way over there. I would grab it for you. Today I'm drinking some Gerolsteiner. I've talked about that before. Nice mineral-based water. Okay, so that's that. And the citrucidal, so I can't give you advice for you, but I can give you advice of what I would do. So what I would do is I would still use the citrucidal drops. Is it from grapefruit? Well, it's from grapefruit seeds, so yes. But is it grapefruit seeds? No. It's actually an extract from grapefruit seeds, right? So it's like, you know, people ask when you get phosphatidylserine, it comes from soy, right? So, okay, does it contain soy? Well, no. I mean, it's phosphatidylserine. It's an extract from soy. So you're not getting any soy. You're getting an extract from soy, right? So that's how I look at it. Me personally, if my coach said, hey, based on your labs, we recommend the citrucidal drops with this because there seems to be a lot of this, overgrowth, then I would do that. I would feel comfortable with it because it's for 21 days and then you would just stop. So that's up to you. Again, that's what I would do for me. All right. Seems like there's another question from Kelly, or at least a Kelly. Hello there. Quick moment to stop and say thanks. Now, on to my question. I've been working through the process of chronic eczema, bloating, and all that jazz. I've gone through the CBO protocol, which saw some success aside from some horrible die-off. However, shortly after the protocol, I got a staph infection that went on for months, and I had to take some antibiotics. At present, my skin is mostly clear. Bloating after every meal has continued. I have one stubborn spot on my upper lip, upper nose that doesn't seem to calm down. I was wondering if it could be a sign of something else. Do you give credibility to facial mapping and perhaps it is a sign of an issue somewhere else in the body, for example, the heart or the spleen? If so, would you recommend diving deeper into this for the internal organs? Many thanks. Have a wonderful day. I'm trying to complete the organic acids test. However, logistics, COVID, and weather have made it hard to get a sample there in time. I'll wait for the spring and try to send my test again. All right. Got it. Understand what you're saying. And basically, you did the CBO. You got good results. There was some die-off. It happens when someone has a lot of overgrowth. You can always slow the process, kind of calm it down. We always tell you that you can do that. Then you got a staph infection from maybe a cut or surgery or dental work, I don't know, and you had to go on antibiotics. It happens. Okay. So typically we say if you go on antibiotics, take the healthy gut support, take the clean gut probiotic for at least 4 weeks. And that typically will help with the gut. But whatever happens, it happens. Life happens. I get it. I totally understand. That's what we're here for. So now you seem to have some eczema, maybe because of the antibiotics, around the upper lip, right? And under the nose. Now, do I believe in facial mapping? I do. I think I did a podcast on facial diagnosis. I know I did one on the tongue. I don't know if I did one on the face. I will do one on the face for sure. I'd love to be able to do that one. So, but not always, right? Like if you get eczema above your lip and under your nose, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything going on with that specific area of the body. So I don't know in this case, because you can get eczema around your ear, you get it hair, it likes eczema like spots that could be a little bit moist, a little bit damp. So it goes for like the folds of the body, the elbows sometimes, behind the ears, around the cracks of the nose. So I don't know that I would go too deep into that. Obviously it could be, right? Nothing wrong with exploring, but, what I would do right now is I would get that gut fixed again. So I would do the bacteria and parasite stool test, or you're going to run the organic acids test, which we call the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. So that's certainly what I would do. You might have to redo the CBO protocol. That's all right. Life happens. And so this time we'll get right into that heal and seal, and we'll make sure you're feeling great. All right. Is this a third question from Kelly? I think it's a third question from Kelly. It could be different Kellys, but we'll see. Hello, Dr. Cabral. Hope you're well and happy. Where might you be at this present moment? Where you might be. I think Kelly's just saying, hey, I hope you're well wherever you are. And I appreciate that, Kelly. My question is about eczema flare-up before my period. The week before bleeding begins, their skin tends to worsen, flare up, and increase the itch. Could it be possible that progesterone levels become too high, causing this flare-up? And there is a case where females can experience progesterone dominance instead of estrogen dominance. Not sure if it works the same way. Still learning an IHP course. Now, would one approach high progesterone with regards to lifestyle and supplementation? Of course, I do not expect a diagnosis or treatment plan, merely your advice if you were a female in my shoes. Jokes, have a wonderful day. All right, Kelly, I understand what you're asking. Happy to help. So it's definitely possible to have high progesterone the week before your cycle. Absolutely possible. Now, does it typically cause more symptoms? The answer is typically no, right? So there is no way that I would err on the belief that you have high progesterone unless I start on a lab test, because it's not even 1 in 100. It's much smaller than that. So it's less than 1%. Because I read hundreds of labs a month. So it's definitely not that. So what can I say? Well, I can say that this is definitely possible. Eczema and skin rashes definitely flare up for many women the week before their cycle. And it's typically, though, because of what Deanna talked about in the first question, and that's because of estrogen dominance, not progesterone dominance, which doesn't technically exist. So, but progesterone still can be high. We don't call it progesterone dominance. We call it estrogen dominance when estrogen is higher, not above normal. It's typically normal. Again, I talk about this in my Health Results Accelerator. Typically normal, but progesterone so low, it looks like there's estrogen dominance, which creates more inflammation in the body, and the inflammation shows up wherever your Achilles heel is. So for a lot of women, maybe it's around the digestive tract. For other women, it might be their skin with acne. It might be skin rashes. It might be oily skin. So no doubt about it. I mean, Kelly, if this is you who's been asking the last 3 questions, I'd run a big 5. I mean, I really would. We've got some things going on in the body here, and they're connected, even though they seem like they're not. Like the digestive system and the hormones can definitely be connected. You want to look at your inflammation with the omega-3s. You want to look at your food sensitivity. So I can't recommend enough the big 5, because it looks like we have some work to do, but that's okay. Because again, the work has to be done. We can never get away from the work. We can't pretend like, oh, we're just going to take this one supplement, everything's going to be fine. No, I wrote a book called the Rain Barrel Effect, and it details the work. Now it tells you how you got here and then how to get back to normal, right? And so that's with the de-stress protocol. And yes, there's one letter that has to do with scientifically proven nutritional supplements, but there's 7 others: diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional balance, those supplements, and of course, the success mindset. All right. Anonymous is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for taking these questions. The podcast is super helpful, and I really appreciate the work you're doing. I have a growing number of skin tags, moles, and seborrheic keratosis. I'm 37, female, and wondered what is going on with this. I've seen a dermatologist who assured me there's nothing to worry about, but I want to understand what the cause is. Thank you. Okay. So I've gone through skin tags before, gone through moles before, I've gone through seborrheic keratosis, I've gone through also cherry angiomas, and I've given you all the different research that's out there. All right, skin tags can definitely be from blood sugar dysregulation. No doubt about it. We see it a lot. We see it a lot with diabetics. So make sure you know your blood sugar. All right. Simplest thing to do is go back and just go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in glucometer. And you can see my last few shows on checking blood sugar, or you can run your stress, mood, and metabolism test, which will look at your cortisol, thyroid hormones, and it will look at your insulin and hemoglobin A1C. So that's important for sure. In terms of moles, well, moles, not moles, but freckles. So moles are a little different than freckles. Freckles and start to develop to a greater degree. The older we are, the more sun exposure we have, because we're actually creating more melanin in our skin, and that's creating some form of skin damage. Is it dangerous? Not really. It's creating oxidation, and the oxidation then doesn't go away unless you actually do some type of dermatological peel. We'll talk about that for the skin. The cherry angiomas are oftentimes linked to toxicity in the body, higher levels of bromine. However, I haven't seen that play out in clinical practice because I test for bromide or bromines, and I haven't seen that. So I don't know that that's true. The older we get, the more of those little red dots that seem to form with those red blood cells essentially on the outside of our body seems to be harmless, seems to be no issues at all. So I always look at this. I say this is like you get your blood work run every year with your PCP. You understand how to read that. You look at it. You understand if you're almost out of range or not. And then you run your big five. And if everything's in range, I don't want us to be overly worried, right? I want us to be like, all right, I'm aging. These things, some things happen. But you keep yourself as young as you can, and that includes your skin. And that's how I look at it. So there are many ways to look at it, but I've done the research, and so that's what I wanted to share with you. And then again, if you want to look up seborrheic keratosis, I definitely recommend going to stephencabral.com/podcast. Type that in. You're going to get a lot more information as well. All right, one more question for the day, and this is from Valeria. I see you have no podcast on Carrageenan and agar. Two ingredients highly used in vegan, vegetarian world that's of growing pace. I ask because both ingredients have conflicting answers within the research world. Is it fine for us to cook and eat with? Okay. Yeah, it's a great question. I've definitely talked about Carrageenan before, or some people pronounce it Carrageenan. Definitely talked about that. It's I know for sure. Let me just check here. Go to stephencabral.com/podcast. So you can always do that. You can go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in Carrageenan, but you can also just go to Google and type in stephencabral.com and your keyword Carrageenan and see what pops up too. So episode 181, way back, the first, 181 days of the Cabral concept. Way back in 2016, I talked about Carrageenan because I talked about almond milk, and you don't want to get nut milk with Carrageenan in it. So it's a thickener that may be okay in humans, but in lab rat studies, it seems that it may cause cancer. So I always tell people, stay away from Carrageenan. Now, what about though, so there's two different pronunciations of agar, or agar. Some people even say agar, because it's a vowel, a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. So however you like to pronounce it, fantastic. Just to make things even a little bit more complicated, you might see in the cooking world as just agar or agar, not agar, right? But just one. So what does it all mean? Well, really, what are we talking about? It's a red algae, okay? So it's a type of seaweed, essentially. That's what agar is. And it is used as a thickener. And it also is loaded with calcium and iron, and I believe there's vitamin B9, folate in there. So it can be quite helpful as a thickener, as a vegan-based gelatin. So we're actually looking at it in future products of ours, such as gummies, because it's more of a natural substance. So right now, there are no research studies that I've seen of any negative of using this algae. that I've seen. So it's one that I feel comfortable with for sure. I don't feel comfortable with Carrageenan, so I don't recommend it. A lot of toothpastes still contain Carrageenan. Sure, if you don't swallow, it's not great, but it's one of those things where I say, hey, if there are other brands making it without Carrageenan, then great, why don't I do that? So you'll see that on a lot of thickeners. I prefer the agar instead, so that's what I opt for. And Valeria, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this weekend's Cabral House Calls. Hopefully they were helpful. If they were, of course, please do feel free to share them with anyone you believe they could serve. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our Motivation and Mindset Monday, the absolute best way to start your week. Take care.